What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, we got to talk about Naughty Dog's next game, Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. I got to tell you right now, that is very hard. I speak very, very quickly. It's a gift and a curse. A lot of people don't like it, but it's a very hard to just kind of like say that rolling off the tongue. And that is one thing we kind of have to talk about. Not a huge fan of the title. But anyway, we're here to talk about the game. We got some news both from Naughty Dog when they did their blog post. Neil Druckmann wrote it. And then they also did an interview with the New York Times. There's a little bit of a synopsis that goes over, everything that was said, but we have a lot to talk about, and we have the actual news, we have my thoughts on it, and we have the internet's thoughts on it, and they're all quite interesting, I personally believe. Okay, so first, let's just go over the basic news. I'm going to use Shinobi. He goes over it pretty well in terms of summarizing both the Naughty Dog blog post as well as, again, that New York Times article. So here's what he says. Over 250 developers have been working on it for the last 4 years, and they're talking about internally at Naughty Dog as well as like external artists and kind of contractors. That's the longer, I guess, answer to that. After layoffs, Naughty Dog underwent a restructuring that Neil Druckmann said that would ensure the company could operate as an IP powerhouse. It returns to Naughty Dog's roots in action-adventure that started the studio's reputation with Crash Bandicoot. Story is set in an alternate universe where space travel has significantly advanced by 1986. We really didn't get any more story details besides that. Play as Jordan Munn, who's played by Tati Gabrielle. I hope that's how you say her name. I don't normally pronounce celebrity names. A dangerous bounty hunter who ends up stranded on Semperia, a distant planet whose communication with the outside universe went dark hundreds of years ago. Will be emotional, character-driven, epic journey with the deepest gameplay in Naughty Dog's history, taking their learnings from their previous franchises and pushing them beyond anything we've ever done before. It takes inspiration from the classic anime like the 1988 movie Akira and 1990 series Cowboy Bebop, and it's scored by Nine Inch Nails artist Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. And they talk about also in that article that you can kind of see a couple other people that might be in this thing. I didn't spot it immediately. I did look at that kind of whiteboard, or just the board, I guess, in general, that she walks by in the beginning, but Lalo Salamanca is definitely on that screen, almost maybe like a big brother, maybe even like a father to her. So hopefully there's something there. He's phenomenal in Better Call Saul, so I would love to see him there. I don't have too much else to say about celebrity I don't watch too many movies. I don't watch too many TV shows. I'm not saying that they're not in good stuff. I just don't know a lot of necessarily like their background and stuff. Like the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, I've never seen that before, so maybe she does good there, maybe she doesn't. She was in the Uncharted movie, the main character here, so who knows? The thing is, okay, no, we kind of went over the news there. Here's the thing. Besides, I am kind of puzzled at the action-adventure that kind of goes back to their Crash Bandicoot days. When I think of Crash Bandicoot, I don't necessarily think of action-adventure. I think of platforming, but that could just be me. Besides that, though, look, does it sound cool? It does sound cool. This kind of does lead into, though, the next part of this video, which is what's my opinion on the thing. One, I mentioned the title. Not a big fan of the title. Number two, I'm not against it. Not against this game at all. But what I will say is, and I was pretty mad at this, I think, initially when they showed it. Again, it's kind of spoiling my live stream yesterday. When they showed off this game, and Neil Druckmann even tweets like, hey, this is the game we've been working on for the last 4 years. I do not think at all that this is a good first impression. I'll just be honest there. Now, there's a lot of different reasons that people are saying that it's not a good first impression, and that goes into the internet's viewpoint of this game. My viewpoint is I don't think they led with their best foot. I think they led with kind of trying to set a vibe that, and just flat out honest, I didn't really get a vibe. Now, I've seen other people online saying, it gave me like a Guardians of the Galaxy, Star Wars type vibe. I got kind of the vibe in terms of the colors, and yes, a little Guardians of the Galaxy, but also a more recent game in Concord. Now, let me be clear here. I am not saying that the quality of this freaking game is going to be the quality of Concord, but let's not pretend like Concord didn't try to kind of set up this kind of vibe, Guardians of the Galaxy-like thing. That is the vibe that I got. Now, maybe that's just like a recency bias. Maybe that's just because Concord literally just came out and massively failed, but that's not why I'm necessarily thinking about it. it. It just came to my head. So that's just being honest with you. And that, again, it's kind of rooted in my major thing and weakness with what they showed. It just wasn't enough. I'm not excited really for this game, and that's kind of crazy. Growing up, and so I literally, Crash Bandicoot, Crash Bash in particular, was the first video game I ever played. So I'm not kidding around when I say, like, I grew up on Crash. Crash made me a freaking gamer, okay? Crash, Uncharted is one of, if not my favorite game franchises of all time. Last of Us 1, incredible. So trust me when I say, like, I know the Naughty Dog IP. Like, when you hear of Naughty Dog, you think of something in particular, right? Now, it might change based off the person, but that's kind of my issue. I know I keep saying, like, these same freaking lines. I'm sorry, I'll try to stop. When I'm thinking of this game, the only thing that I can think of that gets me, like, that elevates it beyond just another game is Naughty Dog. When I look at this game, I see something that doesn't really seem all that inspired, and they didn't show me anything to get me that excited. And then I think, okay, well, it's Naughty Dog. And then you go back to all this stuff, all the new stuff, right? Where it's like, yeah, it does sound cool. And when they say, like, they're pushing the gameplay and stuff, like, contrary to other people, what they'll say, I actually like the combat in The Last of Us. Last of Us 2 got some major heat when it first came out for a lot of different reasons, but also in terms of the actual gameplay. And I actually never I agreed with some other stuff. I never agree with the gameplay. I actually really like the gameplay of The Last of Us 2. That's just my personal opinion. I like it. I liked the first game's gameplay. I love Uncharted's gameplay. I love Crash Bandicoot. You can keep going backwards, right? But I do like their gameplay. I don't think it's the best gameplay in all of gaming, but I think it's rock solid. And depending on which game you're talking about, I think it's actually real. Like Uncharted 4, I think did some really cool stuff. Again, it depends on which one. I do kind of believe them. I believe them that this game might be the most, like, revolutionary, innovative gameplay that they have ever done. I do believe that. The issue is, well, I believe that they believe that. The issue is we didn't see it, so it just keeps going back to the same thing. My opinion is that it didn't really look all that good. It didn't get me as into it as I wanted. And I mean, trust me, leading in, you can go watch the live stream. Whenever people were asking me, Alex, what about, like, this final big thing? I thought Naughty Dog, because Naughty Dog is big, and, like, their games can be big, or actually normally are big, right? But then when they showed it, I don't think they started off on the right foot. I just feel like it could have been kind of any game. I think the name Naughty Dog is elevating it in people's minds past what they actually should. And that's okay. I'm not saying you can't allow that to happen. But yet again, other people aren't doing that, right? Other people are saying, nope, not buying into it until we see more. And honestly, that is, like, yes, there's the woke versus anti-woke stuff that we'll get to in a second. But that is one of the biggest things that I have personally seen online. And that's my standpoint on it. Like, I can't get too excited for it because they really, like, what did they show me that's going to get me excited? Truly, other than it's Naughty Dog in space. That's it. That's all they did, right? And it's like, that can be great. And again, Naughty Dog has a certain, like, power behind it. But what they showed was, they, and the final thing I'll say, and then we'll move on, why it makes me kind of so upset. I actually teased it earlier. So they've been working on this since 2020. Jeff Keighley said that. Then Neil Druckmann tweeted, this is the game we've been working on for the last 4 years. You've been working on a game for 4 years, and this is the trailer that you show me? And that, to me, is the biggest issue. And I saw one tweet, and I don't know if they were going at it with, like, a woke versus anti-woke angle. It doesn't really matter. The tweet was basically that when you see trailers for, like, Uncharted or Last of Us, and I think I understand what the person's saying. When you see, like, a really freaking killer trailer, it just connects. It connects immediately. Like, you don't have to really second guess it. You don't have to think about it 2, 3, 4 times to say, oh, yes, oh, it got me. It got me on the third try, right? It really, like, connected to my soul. A good trailer, to a certain person, right? It depends on the person you are. But for me, if I watch a trailer and it gets me, it just gets me. I'll get Split Fiction, the game that was shown off at the Game Awards from Josef Fares. That game got me within the first 20 seconds, immediately. And I can still remember that trailer, and I think that trailer is just so good. But it just got me. I don't have to second-guess myself. I don't have to second-guess the trailer. I don't have to go back and say, okay, well, am I missing some sort of, like, deeper connection? The trailer's just good. And for this game, Naughty Dog's, I'm just going to say Naughty Dog's next game. It's easier for how fast I talk. It just didn't get me. And I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I'm not. I'm truly not saying it. And that actually kind of connects to the final part of this video in terms of, like, what the internet thinks. But I need to see more. I am not jumping in and saying, I've seen people say this is going to be a generational game. that is simply because it's coming from Naughty Dog, and I'm past that point. I'm past that point generally. I mean, maybe I'm a hypocrite, and I can be biased in certain games. I'm sure I have, and I'm sure I'll continue to be here and there. But generally, as I've gotten older and all that stuff, like, I don't know. I love games. I love thousands of games, but I'm not going to go out there and say, yep, that game is the game of the generation just because they showed me a trailer that didn't really show me anything. That game's immediately a generational game because it comes from Naughty Dog. I'm kind of past that. You don't have to be past that point, and it doesn't even have to be a point that needs to get past, but I am. I'm past the point of saying that about at least this game, because I just don't think that's necessarily true. I also just don't think you should be saying it this early, and especially 4 or 5 years they've been making it. Where is the game, that they show? So, okay, that kind of ends that part. Now, the final part is how the internet responded. I got to be honest, the internet responded overwhelmingly negative, and this is something that they've got to be very careful about, because, like, the difference here is with The Last of Us Part 2, it wasn't until the end. And I don't think Naughty Dog handled it great in terms of when, like, the leaks came out. And I think that was, like, that May, right? And the game came out in June. For that time in between the leak and the game coming out, I don't think they handled it very well. And it was messy. Like, it was just messy to be online and talking about, good or bad, talking about Naughty Dog, talking about The Last of Us Part 2, anything. And since then, I don't really also think they've done, all that spectacular of a job kind of responding to it. When it comes to this game, the reason why they got to be careful, this is probably a game that's still 2 years out at least. This is probably, at best, a fall of 26 game, okay? That's another, by the way, issue just in general. It's another game that takes 6-7 years. I mean, yes, games do that now, but we do have to kind of pull that back, and clearly that's not happening here. The game is probably fall of 26 at the earliest, which means you've got 2 years of just this public discourse, and you've got to be able to balance, like, how you kind of strike back, or do you strike back? Do you care? Do you not care? And so far, I do have to say, I don't think they're doing that great of a job, at least from the responding. They shut down their comments on their YouTube channel. So if you go on their specific, not PlayStation. PlayStation is still up. I think IGN's is still up. You go on these different channels to watch the trailer, which I did simply a look at the likes to dislikes. But you can go on them, and you can obviously look at the comments. And I'll tell you, the comments on kind of all of them are bad. The only positive comments I've seen on this game specifically, Easy Allies had some good comments, positive comments, and then Twitter, depending on who you see just on your algorithm, had some positive comments. When I went on PlayStation's comments, they're not positive. When I went on Naughty Dog's comments, well, Naughty Dog turned them off. So you literally cannot see any comments on Naughty Dog's own one. And I think Naughty Dog's is the worst like to dislike, although that could be PlayStation. But it's getting like kind of 2-to-1. Every 2 dislikes gets 1 like. It's not even now when it came out like last night, it was 50-50. It was literally around half. As the day has gone, it's 33-66, right? 33% positive. And that's just not amazing. In fact, well, what else do you want to say? It's not good. Like, you would hope and you would want a better, like to dislike. Yeah, I don't really know how else to say it, right? Like, I'm not trying to, like, step on toes or, to offend different people's opinions and stuff. But at the end of the day, like, I think what you're seeing in terms of likes to dislikes, obviously most people don't like what they saw. Now, is it because of the woke versus anti-woke thing? I think that could be a part of it, right? The character, the hair, all that jazz. If I were to like or dislike it, I'm disliking it on the concept of not showing me literally anything to kind of like convey, like, where's the gameplay? Like, can you give me a little bit more than you did? That's why I would dislike it if I were. I don't leave likes, dislikes almost ever, so I didn't actually do it myself. But if I were to, that would be why I dislike it. But you also have that angle as well. You have the woke versus anti-woke stuff, which the video is already long enough. I don't really want to get too much into it. Where I kind of generally stand on that stuff is I normally do not judge those things based off trailers. I wait for, like, the final product. So is the game massively woke, like the worst thing you could ever conceive of? Honestly, I think the game, number one, needs to come out first. And I've said this before. Other people have said this before. I do think, like, the game is either going to be good or bad because it's good or bad. Like, the writing is either going to be good or bad because it is, not necessarily because of woke elements. The gameplay is not going to be hurt or helped by being woke. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I stand for a lot of things. Again, I don't want to stretch the video too far, so we'll kind of just leave it at that. But that is a big part of it in terms of the likes to dislikes. And you could say, like, oh, well, those people can take... I've seen people say those kind of things, like, those people can take a hike, they don't matter and stuff. if you're Naughty Dog, if you're PlayStation, and you're seeing the first game from, I mean, think about all like these positive things that are being said about this game in terms of first big IP, first new IP from them since The Last of Us, right? They've been on a streak of just remastering and remaking The Last of Us for so many years. They've been making this game for 4 years, and your reveal trailer is getting destroyed in terms of likes to dislikes. It is not winning positively. You know what I mean? Now, if you look at that when you're Naughty Dog or PlayStation, do you have thoughts on that? I don't know. That's kind of what I want to know. I want to know, do they actually care? Is that something they're going to address? Can you pivot or not pivot based off that? Or do you just leave it? I do say, and I will guarantee you this, that we are in the next 2 years of just this kind of like muddy mess of this situation until they show something that I think like overwhelmingly pushes it, I guess, back the other way, or, you know, whatever you want to say. I think they're kind of stuck like this for a while, but I don't think it's all that great. I guess final thing I would say, not everybody lives online. That's something else and I think the people that don't live online, not saying you can't, I mean, I live online, so I'm kind of criticizing myself. You know, people that don't live online, you know, they're going to have an opinion or not based off that trailer and based off Naughty Dog, the property. That's it. Or like, you know, the company. That's it. And that's going to also be interesting of like, well, what does Sony and what does PlayStation, what does Naughty Dog, who do they think most, like, where do they think most people are? Do they think the most people that buy those Naughty Dog games are just these kind of general gamers that will kind of seek them out, right? Will find the Naughty Dog. They know of Uncharted. They know of Last of Us. Or is it these people that are online? Because if they think it's the people online, it's not going over well on the people online, and it might not be going over well with just people in general, right? I don't know. It's messy. It is not. I don't care what you think about the game. I don't care if you're one of the people that said, oh, this is going to be a generational game. I do not think you can say that this game went over well. It might go over well for you, but I'm saying, okay, you look me in the face, you look me in the eye, and you tell me you think this game has gone over well as a whole, and I just don't think you can say it. How can you actually say it? And that's not ideal. It's not something that I think you want if you're Naughty Dog and PlayStation. So, I mean, look, at the same time, it is Naughty Dog, it is PlayStation, it's a video game, it's a high kind of budget, high priority game. Will I be covering it? Of course I will be covering. Will I probably end up getting it? Of course I'll probably end up getting it. And I'll give you guys my thoughts along the way and when the game actually comes out. That's my promise to you. I can't really do anything more than that. You have your own opinion. I'll have my own opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.